Dewey Hammond here with NFL scout Dave Rosano. Dave, thank you for your time. Let's talk about the NFC West, maybe one of the worst divisions in football, if not the worst.
No question. I think it's a two-horse race. You have two teams, San Francisco and Arizona, who will challenge for that title. I think the Seahawks and Rams are a long way off. They're both very limited talent-wise. And the big question mark in Arizona is going to be Matt Leinart taking over for Kurt Warner. That's a big drop-off, obviously. And they also lost Anquan Bolden, Carlos Dansby, and Antrell Roll. So to lose four solid starters in 1 year is a little much. I still think they're going to be good. I still think they have enough to win that division, which might be the weakest in football. The 49ers, they have a good running attack and a good young defense. The quarterback situation is their biggest issue with Alex Smith. I don't think he can get it done. They do have a good young kid there, Nate Davis, who I feel needs to play if they want to really challenge seriously for that division title and anything thereafter. So I think it's coming down to the two teams there, and it's it's unusual to have only two teams that can compete for the division, but that's how the NFC West stands at this point.
San Francisco 49ers, you mentioned their running game. Let's talk about Glenn Coffey, who suddenly retired during training camp. How does that impact the running game? Obviously, they went out and signed Brian Westbrook, great pickup. Tell me about the running game of San Francisco and how that's impacted by losing Glenn Coffey.
Well, it's one thing to lose a starter, another thing to lose a backup. I mean, he was a backup, so I don't think it's that big of a deal. He was a good football player, but hitting on this sixth-round pick, Anthony Dixon out of Mississippi State, he's very good, very powerful. He's just what the doctor ordered there. He's just what Singletary loves, a between the tackles pounder. Didn't run fast at the combine, but within a 10-yard situation, he's got outstanding and quick feet and power. So I don't think they're going to miss a beat. I think Dixon will end up being their primary backup to Gore and be more productive than Coffey would have been.
Now in Arizona in the desert, you mentioned Matt Leinart being the question mark. That's big bright letters. It's very obvious he's the question mark in Arizona. Like you said, they lost four good players in Antrell Roll, Carlos Dansby, Anquan Bolden, and of course Kurt Warner. Let's stick on the offensive side of the ball. Kurt Warner and Anquan Bolden. You could make the argument that Larry Fitzgerald, hey, he's going to really drop off. He lost his number 2 guy to take the pressure away. He lost his quarterback. You think he might even have a better season with the departure of Bolden and Kurt Warner? Tell me why.
Well, I think so, because he'll be Matt Leinart's safety valve. I think Matt will look to him even more so than Kurt did. I think when the chips are down, you always look to Fitzgerald. He gets open at will, and he's a big target. So I would expect Leinart to, give Fitz several opportunities to have a triple-digit reception season. So I don't think Fitz's numbers will drop off at all. Leinart is the question mark, but again, I don't think it'll hurt Fitzgerald at all. I think it could help him.
The running game in Arizona, Beanie Wells, the kind of guy who could put up 1,500 yards in a season. What do you expect from the Buckeye Beanie Wells?
Well, I expect him to have a great year, and I think he will. I think they know what they have down there. He's a bell cow guy. He's a 235-pound freight train with absolute explosion in the open field. So I think the Cardinals, again, they know what he is, and I would expect him to have several more carries than he did last season and really be the bread and butter back. He needs to stay healthy, but if he's healthy, they obviously know what they have again, and he's a big-time Pro Bowl back. He's got a lot of talent, and that could really be a big help to untrack him this year down there in the desert.
Let's talk about the biggest offseason story in the NFC West. You got the St. Louis Rams, the number 1 overall pick, Sam Bradford. I know you love Sam Bradford as a quarterback, but with that offensive line, he's going to be facing a lot of pressure this season. How do you see Sam Bradford's rookie season playing out, and then years 2, 3, 4, and beyond?
Well, I think eventually he'll walk to the Pro Bowl. He's a Pro Bowl talent. The problem there is the offensive line and the team around him. Normally, you want a rookie to come in and play with a middle-of-the-road team, but they're so lacking in talent there with the receivers and the offensive line. It's in such disarray that he will be lucky to get through even half the season without an injury. I mean, he's going to get banged up pretty good. So the big question mark with new ownership coming in and that staff there being on the hot seat, they almost have to play the kid, and it could be ugly. I mean, the guys. The protection is just not there right now with the offensive line.
But it's different than, say, a guy, another quarterback savior, say David Carr, who came in and was expected to save Houston and never really got a fair shake because they didn't have the offensive line. You don't see the similar situation with Bradford, though, because he gets the ball away quicker. Talk a bit about his strengths and how he can compensate being faced with that pressure. Because, whether he likes it or not, it's coming.
Well, they're going to have to shorten up the passing game, rely on Steven Jackson to pound the ball. They can't, have him 5-7 step drop and sit there like a sitting duck. I mean, they really have to. He has to get the ball out, so they're going to have to shorten the routes up. They do have untested receivers, so I believe they're going to load the box against the Rams and just try to stop Steven Jackson. So you have some issues there, but again, he can get rid of the ball. Carr was one to never get rid of the ball. He holds it too long. He still holds it too long. And I thought that line in Houston was always a little underrated. They got the brunt of the negativism from the media because of all the sacks, but a lot of that was Carr's fault when you look at the tape. So again, I think they're two totally different quarterbacks, with Bradford being light years better as a talent. But he's going to struggle with that line. So I just think they're going to have to shorten up the drops, get rid of the ball, shorten up the routes, and feature the running game as much as possible.
Seattle Seahawks battling for one of the worst spots in the league. Maybe I think you had them as the second worst team in your power rankings. What should Pete Carroll expect in Seattle, and why are they not 1 year away from winning, but 2, 3, or 4 years?
Well, Carroll has to understand that he's inheriting a team that just doesn't have a lot of players, and it's going to take 2, 3, 4 years to add players. Again, when you get a job like this coming out of college, you tend to go for guys you're familiar with. That's why they signed Lendell White. That didn't pan out. They drafted Anthony McCoy from USC, who Pete's familiar with. And they try to get guys he's familiar with, but that team's just so far off in talent. They have an aging quarterback. Their defense has really fallen off talent-wise, and Patrick Kearney retiring didn't help anything. So Aaron Curry has to step up this season, but across the board, they just don't have the talent. They don't have the offensive line they once had, and Carroll knows he's in for a long haul there. It's going to take him a while to build that up, and if they give him the time to do it.
Now you mentioned Aaron Curry, defensive star out of Wake Forest. I think he was taken with the 4th overall pick, or maybe he was 5 or 6. I think it was number 4.
Yeah.
In hindsight, do you still take him that high?
I had Brian Cushing, the best linebacker that year, personally. Now, do you take him that high? In hindsight, no, you don't. I think a lot of times when you pick up high, the media gets involved in all the hype. This kid was hyped. I don't know if he was as good as his hype. But again, no, I wasn't shocked that he struggled as a rookie because, a lot of times when you have the height, weight, speed, and he is a good kid, but no, I don't think he was as good as a top 5 pick should be. So no, I think he was overdrafted a tad.
Dave, thank you for your time. One last question. Who do you see ultimately coming out with the division title in the NFC West?
I think the Arizona Cardinals still have enough firepower. They have a good young defense, and I still see them prevailing in the NFC West.
Thank you for your time.